Have you personally seen these tapes?
I have not. I've seen essentially what you've seen. I've worked on the story in a larger context, but no, I haven't. It's my colleague Tim Roach, who is one of 4 people who have been working on this whole package for well more than a month. And something should be said here at the outset, Peter, and that is that these tapes and the cover shot are really one part of a larger package which contains much fresh information, including interviews with school officials, with the principal, school board people, and the families.
I want to come back because I know you've spoken with the families. The big flap this morning is the sheriff, and this is in the Morning Rocky Mountain News, Dick. I don't know if you had a chance yet to see the paper.
No, I haven't.
I'll read it to you. It's Kevin Vaughn's piece. Sheriff says writer broke agreement. Jefferson County Sheriff's officials accuse a Time magazine correspondent yesterday, Sunday, of violating a confidentiality agreement by publishing excerpts from the suicide tapes of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold.
No, I'm sure there's nothing to it. That is untrue. I mean, I was not privy to the interviews out there that Tim conducted, but certainly everything was done in good faith and above board, and no, I mean, we refute that.
What, and also the spokesperson, the spokeswoman, is it Deanna Pearson?
Yes.
Deanna Pearson speaks. Diana Pearson speaks with Kevin Vaughn, saying it's not true. We won't get into any discussion about who our sources were, but in fact, they say that you guys were allowed to see all of this.
Peter, what happened was this story, the several stories in here were just a product of old-fashioned reporting, street reporting, a lot of shoe leather, a lot of perspiration expended, a lot of people talked to, letters written, we hung out with people. We started on this story, these stories well before the Manus hearing. So it just, it was a long time in completion, and it came about inch by inch.
We had Patty Calhoun on from Westward this morning. I don't know if you heard when Patty was on with us.
But, no, I didn't.
But we were talking about what happened yesterday when the word got out that Time had this big story coming. I'm willing to bet, and I don't know this obviously, but I'm betting that the editors of the Rocky Mountain News and the Denver Post made screaming phone calls, particularly the Rocky, as Patty pointed out, that's been doing this huge 3-part series, and they didn't get a chance to see the tapes.
You're probably right there. I mean, it's human nature in journalism. If somebody comes out with something big ahead of you, and certainly if you're the local people, you want a part of it and you wonder what happened.
I agree. And I think, obviously, Time scooped everybody.
We did in a way, but if we're talking about Denver and distribution, the magazine won't be here basically in most outlets till tomorrow or in the homes till Wednesday. The Rocky is out with a very complete report this morning. And I guess the Post is too.
But the Rocky far more than the Post. In fairness, I mean, I think the Rocky does a better job this morning than the Post. But those things aside, I'm guessing that Dan and Kevin Vaughn and everybody else poured down in there yesterday, Karen Abbott, and at that point the sheriff had to allow them to see the tapes as well.
Probably.
What do you think, Dick? You're really a smart man about the networks as well. Don't you think that CBS, ABC, and everybody else is going to show up today down in Jeffco, and they're going to want to see these tapes and probably want copies?
I would expect so, and there'll be a stampede of sorts. But I think there comes a point where you have to draw the line on something like this, and I think there'll be a closing of the ranks. I doubt if these get out right now. I think, though, they certainly will get out somehow.
I agree. It's interesting, and it's been talked about this morning on a show from a good caller as well, is where do they get off in claiming that they had a confidentiality agreement with a national magazine?
I don't know. I mean, this is, to me, it sounds preposterous.
To me, it does as well.
But we'll have to see.
Yeah, Stone hasn't handled much of this well anyhow, so this is, I think, just another, and I know you can't comment on that, but I certainly can. It can be just another part of how John Stone doesn't understand the press.
As far as all of this getting out, Peter, we should also talk about that a minute, I think, and It was certainly a debate of some sort, some degree, among editors at the magazine about how much should be published, and really not so much the tapes, but the cover picture itself, which is quite chilling. But the tapes, really, the information value, and the fact we're doing an examination of this horrible crime. And an issue which haven't died off, as some people would like to think. It's still very much out there.
In what way, Dick?
It's an open wound, as even some families will tell you, notably Brian Rohrbough, they don't want closure. Several families have told us that. They don't want a closing of this chapter. They want the thing open because they want more answers.
Brian's going to be in our studio coming up in the next hour.
Yeah.
Dick, I'm going to take a pause. We'll come back with you. Dick Woodbury from Time Magazine. The cover, by the way, on the New Time, we'll talk to Dick about this, comes from that surveillance video that ended up, I think, shown at a convention or there was something to do with the paramedics that had been in Columbine, and they got the tape, and they were showing it to other men and women. And from there, it sprung out into the national press, which here we are again. Will you watch these videos, and how long before these videos will be seen? Channel 7 at 11 this morning, we'll be talking about this. 7 on the 11 a.m. news on 7 Speak Out this morning. Wow. Brian Rohrbough in our studio this morning. Hopefully Judy Brown, who knew both Klebold and Harris, coming up this morning on KHOW. I think got to Frank DeAngelis, the principal of Columbine, who has also been in the eye of the storm. What did the principal tell you about this?
We were among the first, Peter. We got the school officials, and it was not myself, it was another one of my colleagues, but he talked about just the fact that he was snowed under by everything that happened, and went through denials on the existence of a jock culture,
right,
which we found in the course of this investigation existed to some extent, but not to a degree that it was a prime motivating factor. As the videotapes pointed out, and Harris and Klebold said, they hated basically everybody. Pick a minority, and they were a target.
Yeah, for the longest time, we were led to believe that they weren't racists, but now I certainly have changed my mind, predicated on your work.
They were racist in a larger sense, that they just had it out for the rest of the world. And I think we're all going to be exploring this for a long time to come, and to the extent that this story advances the examination, it's well worth everybody's. It's well worth everything that this came out.
Who all did you speak to, Dick? I have not read the New Time piece, so I'm like everybody else. I'm working from the Rocky Mountain News, the Denver Post, and the Internet this morning. Who all did you talk to?
I and my colleagues spoke to a range of sheriff's officers, federal agents, the principal, the members of the school board, several members of the faculty, a whole slew of students, and then a large number of families of both the deceased and injured, some of whom had been talked to before, but with us it was, I think, greater depth, and other people who hadn't talked much, and some of the injured themselves.
It's so amazing. I mean, Time Magazine, to give 32 pages to something, that's incredible.
Peter, this was conceived back in the fall to run as a major piece in one of our year-end issues, the next two issues, the last issues of the year. As it turns out, it was advanced 1 week because information being perishable like it
Sure.
we wanted to get this all out.
It's been long rumored that the tapes existed, but I understand that the sentencing of Mark Manus, the young man who sold the guns, two of the guns to Klebold and Harris, that someone, a detective or a prosecutor, read excerpts from the tapes, and then everybody said, boy, the tapes exist for sure.
That's correct. There was a snippet that was read there at that hearing, and that whetted a lot of appetites, I guess. But we had been working on this story before that, so that was not the thing that touched us off, really.
Yes, there are so many frightening parts of at least what's in the press and on the Internet this morning, or in the Rocky Mountain News and in the Internet, that the folks, Eric Harris's folks, find the tackle box where they have the bomb-making materials, and the folks only take out the pipe bombs and leave, and apparently don't confront him.
That's correct. There are a whole bunch of just fascinating insights. The phone call from the gun store that the clips are in, and the father seeming to gloss over that. There's just a lot. This says a lot about the parent-child relationship and how little, apparently, either family knew or were aware, and yet the scheming that was going on, and we never really get to why this happened, even with our 32-page package.
Is it? I mean, one of the questions that keeps coming up, of course, the only question that keeps coming up is why. And according to the Denver Post this morning, that they sense this to say that these two, Klebold and Harris, did this at Columbine to kickstart a revolution. Now, you've seen everything, Dick. Do you get that sense from that's part of why they did what they did?
In a way, they were venting this terrible anger, which was a product of our violent society, our culture. To a large extent, what happened, I think, at Columbine is an indictment of our modern day culture of Hollywood, of video stores. They talk. I mean, they're creatures of this society, and they talk, of the computer game Doom. They talk of the album. Harris willed his album called Bomb Threat Before She Blows. They call the day of the bombing Judgment Day. I mean, they're discussing in the midst of this which director they'd like to have do this thing, Tarantino or Steven Spielberg, after they're gone. They were... celebrity was part of this thing. It was a basic motive, as one of the FBI agents says in the story. So they wanted to be famous.
Having you say that, I'm going to put you on hold when we come back, respond to it. Are these videos dangerous to get out in the public? We're coming back with Dick Woodbury from Time Magazine, kind enough to be with us. It's Monday, December the of the front page in color of the Denver Post. And it's that picture, again, taken by the surveillance cameras inside the cafeteria. Talk about how that picture got out as well.
Peter, I can say we got it from authorities, and I can't go much beyond that. In fact, I don't know a lot more, but I can say that I believe that picture has been out in some form or another, not as clear, for quite a while. There was one or two frames from that surfaced out of an Albuquerque TV station several weeks ago.
Yeah, we've talked about, I believe, and I'm not sure about this, maybe Brian will know, but it was the paramedics or somebody had it, and they went to a convention. I don't want to say a convention, but they went to a seminar or symposium, and they showed the tape.
I think there was a fire department convention, firefighters convention of some sort.
And it got out.
A bit got out, yeah.
Well, it's a chilling cover.
And we followed up on that. Yes, and as I said, there was some debate about this, but we decided that there was a larger public interest to be served. And there was a lot more to learn about this crime, and that's why we pursued it with such vigilance and in such depth.
I spoke, as I do every morning, with my boss from Channel 7, Diane Mulligan. I know that today they're going after the tape, as will ABC, CBS, CNN. Everybody's going to move on it. Dick, I think it's only a question of time before this video's there. What are your thoughts about people seeing it on national TV?
I think it's going to come out one way or the other. It may be a matter of weeks. I think the Jefferson Sheriff will probably close ranks, and it won't go out any official release. But I think at this stage, why not bring it out? The more we can find out about this thing, these school shootings are not ending. They keep going on.
That's right.
Columbine is not ended. People want it out there, want to look at it, want to find out more, and try to get it at the essence of why this thing happened.
Dick, if one of the answers, and I say one of the answers, is that Klebold and Harris wanted to, quote, kickstart a revolution, is this a dangerous videos to be out there to other young men, because we're talking about young men who think like they think?
I think there's an equal danger in not talking about this issue and exploring it to the greatest degree that we can. Yeah.
Also, for the first time, we find out that they're drinkers, that they're alcohol abusers. They're drinking Jack Daniels from a quart bottle as they're making their videos.
One of them is, yeah. Which, again, is another